the kind of wear it tight. Button up from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says the world can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional. Yeah. Unprofessional. Yeah. I'm unprofessional.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I'm your host, Webby. Joining me tonight, we got Devin. Oh, you cut out real bad right there when you peaked on your volume. And we got Rob.
Hey guys, it's Rob.
And we do have a special guest just kind of lurking and hiding in the shadows who may or may not pop in. I don't know if you want to go ahead and say hi now or not.
I like boobs.
That was Mr. Clay. Clay from Canada. All right.
I'm sorry, Canadian.
So, Devin,
Webby.
this is something that we probably should have talked about before we started recording instead of all of the poop talk and weird movies.
I figured you were gonna spring something on me last minute, so I brought my best brain with me.
That's
I
good,
put my other brain in the closet.
because we've had some suggestions, and I know in the chat that we have going on, I put in a couple suggestions that were given to us by a listener. Thank you, Mom. And I threw out another couple of suggestions, but I don't know if we actually stamped down what we're going to talk about.
As I sat down and went through the chat, I'm like, "What are we doing SUN again?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know why you brought up the stuff. I wonder what we decided on." And then I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, we never actually decided. We just was like, yeah, those sound good."
Yeah. So
Anyway,
I did, in case we decided, depending on what we decided on, I did pull up a really small article from the APA regarding violence in video games, and I pulled up a list that we could go one by one through and kind of discuss, but it's the 30 ways being a kid has changed in the past 30 years. Which, I mean, you're not even 30 yet, Devin, so you wouldn't have been a kid 30 years ago. That would be for me and Rob to discuss.
In the last 30 years. So, I mean, it could have still been around 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
I mean, true.
I mean, I'll be 30 in January. So, I
Um,
mean, I'm not that far behind this, depending on what they're discussing.
so those are the two topics that were written in to us. I will say, from what I've read on this this website and this article from the APA, which is the American Psychological Association, tongue twister there. To just go ahead and get this out of the way. They say, quote, violence is a complex social problem that likely stems from many factors that warrant attention from researchers, policymakers, and the public. That was quoted by APA President Sandra L. Schulman, PhD. Attributing violence to video gaming is not scientifically sound and draws attention from other factors such as history of violence, which we know from the research is a major predictor of future violence. So, by the sounds of it, I don't feel like they think that violent video games make violent people, but it does go on to say that violence in video games does adequate or contribute to what's the word I'm looking for here? Like violent outbursts, I guess. Like shoving and shouting, things like that. You know, gamer rage that we all go through. But just because, it does contribute to what we call gamer rage, where you get pissed off at a video game or whatever, and you slam your hand on your desk,
Like
or
Overwatch.
or
Just saying.
throw your keyboard across the room.
Or anything.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go out there and, become a serial killer or, rob a bank or, hold people at knife point, things like this.
But if you do, there's nothing wrong with that because serial killers' lives matter too, right? That's what we're saying. No, okay.
Maybe, I guess. I mean, all lives matter.
See, even serial killers, you're inclusive. You're inclusive now.
But so the thing that when you want to try to talk about violent behavior, you want to really the science behind that is more so researching violence in the history of the person. Not necessarily any type of video game. So that's the short and easy answer of that. All right.
I do have a question for you, Webby. Just a personal question.
Sure.
Based on, because I had a similar conversation. I had a similar conversation with people at work. Where basically a guy at work was like, Grand Theft Auto is probably one of the leading causes of why all these people are. I'm like, I don't think it's that. And basically, we came down to we came to a conclusion of it not being necessarily video games, but honestly it's just the most reasoning why people usually end up doing bad things is they're looking for the easy way.
True.
And that's usually the end result of the problem. But then somewhere in that conversation, music was brought up. And I know me personally, music, touches my soul. When I listen to music, you really get into music. Do you think violent music is more influential or has a higher chance of influencing someone to kill or, a violent outburst more so than a video game?
So I remember when this was a big topic. Years ago, and they were blaming the music industry for a lot of different things too. Personally, I don't think. See, I mean, this is hard. I don't think any contributing factor between video games, music, things like that, makes somebody more violent. I think that person has the potential to be just as violent without these factors, and they're just looking for a catalyst. And when they become violent, they're just turning around and blaming these other sources of media, whether it be music or video games or the like. I think somewhere, everybody has the ongoing potential for violence, and where that potential lies as far as, whether, if it's higher than other people or lower than other people, I think truly just is a factor of their upbringing, and I'm not saying that Joe Schmo down the road who had a happy childhood and a loving family can't be prone to violence or can't be pushed to violence or doesn't have these violent thoughts. But I feel like it is probably less common to have these violent types of outbursts and potential if you're brought up in a home that, if you're raised with certain types of morals and respect. I like to think that I was raised in a house, and I mean, looking at my siblings, I can't prove this, but I guess it's the takeaway that I got from it, being the youngest child. I was able to watch everyone else in my house. I'm that type of person. So when I watch people and they make a mistake and I see how it affects them, I kind of learn from other people's mistakes. Now, with that being said, I'm I feel personally that I probably have the most potential and volume of pent up anger within me. And I definitely could have, the potential for violence, within me. Like if I ever got really mad or brought myself to, in a self defense type moment or whatnot, I feel like it would quickly turn from self defense to somebody needing to pull me off to stop me from beating someone to death with my bare hands, kind of thing.
That poor teddy bear.
But I feel like I grew up with a really strong sense of good morals and a good foundation in my life, which keeps me centered. And I mean, I play all sorts of violent video games, and I've listened to all sorts of violent music, and I haven't gone out there and joined a gang or wanted to go out there and like hold people up and rob banks or things like that.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like if you did join a gang, you'd be like that guy in a movie who like everybody like you'd be like in like a biker gang, everyone would like stand off and be like terrified of you. But like when it came down to it, you'd pull out your switchblade and it's just a comb, and you're like combing your mustache, and you're actually a pretty nice guy.
See, I mean, that's the thing though, is like
that's how I see
the people who know me. They do compare me to just, a big teddy bear, because I don't like the thought of being violent with other people, and I don't like being violent with other people. But the people who have seen me extremely angry know that the potential is there. Like, I scare myself with how bad I can get with my anger, which is why I try to keep it in check as often as possible. But yeah, I mean, with the people that know me, I try to, especially with my friends and stuff, I am just a big teddy bear. But I mean, one of my bigger fears in life, no joke, is that the people closest to me see me when I take the cork off that bottle of aggression, so to speak. You know what I mean? Because I don't want any of you guys to look at me differently, seeing me like that.
Understandable.
I mean, since Rob's moved in, he's seen me, like, I've literally had to walk away and just start beating metal chairs with a baseball bat. Like, I've gotten that angry. And I'm sure that's a side that Rob hasn't seen before, of me.
Yep.
So, and I mean, it has the potential to be worse. Like, there are certain situations in my own brain that if they ever came to pass, I'd probably be locked up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But at the same time, again, I'm not out there holding people up or robbing banks or, committing violent crimes on a daily basis either. So, I don't know. I think every individual is different. And I think music and video games are used as a scapegoat. I don't think they're an actual cause.
Yeah, it specifically has to do with either your upbringing or like it's that nature nurture thing. Like video games, sure, if that's the only thing you're being taught, if someone just plunked you down in front of a violent video game, it's like this is what the world is like, then maybe. But it's like if violent video games are the only input you're getting, then I guess. But like everything else, like TV shows or even people talking to you or in school, like you learn that these are not the proper things to do. And it depends on what kind of person like takes it in. Like video games, some of them have like, okay, you could do the good things or you could do the bad things. And it depends on what kind of person you are. Like personally, I can't do like because I've recently been playing Mass Effect because that came back out, and they have like the Paragon path where you can do all nice things, and then have the Renegade. Like I've played through the Paragon path, and then I have gone back to try to do the Renegade path, and I just can't. I feel too bad. Like
I'm always the renegade.
I know,
I
but
always
that's
choose
like,
all the bad things to do.
but for me, I can't even get through a Renegade run. I just feel too bad. Like it makes me feel guilty and bad to do it, and I'm just like, nah, never mind. I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Another point, Devin. Mainly because you've gotten me into this game and you'll understand the reference. Me and Rob, we were playing Red Dead Redemption 2 the other day. Okay. So Rob enjoys lassoing people off their horse, hog-tying them, stealing their money, and then he'll pick them up and he'll put them off the road so they don't get trampled by like oncoming horse traffic. Every person that he was hog-tying and moving off to the side of the road, I would shoot. I would trample with my horse. I would pick up. I'd go and throw in the lake so they'd drown. He's committing a crime. I'm just committing a worse crime. But I'm not a violent person. Remember, I'm a big teddy bear.
You're a big teddy bear. You're a big teddy bear. You are, but
I'm like a giant Five Nights at Freddy's teddy bear. Still a teddy bear.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think music or video games has its role to play in blame?
I don't think they necessarily have a role to play in it being the end all be all kind of. If that makes sense. Like I don't think they have the. I don't think they're 100% responsible. I do think that, and I'm not saying like I think music is the cause. If that makes, you know what I mean. I'm not saying that. I don't think music has.
I don't think putting a violent person in front of violent video games or allowing them to listen to violent music is good. That's just stoking a fire.
Yeah, exactly. Better statement. Better way to say it would be this: I don't think you taking someone who wouldn't already be accustomed to doing violent acts and exposing them to violence through music or video games. I do not think that would be have any effect on that person. Whereas someone who is more accustomed to violent acts and whatnot, I do think they would definitely, that would be a trigger for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree to that. It's just you're just literally adding fuel to an already lit fire at that point.
Yep.
So yeah, those are our opinions on that particular subject.
Well, I remember when I was a kid and I would start cursing and swearing at my video games because I was dying or whatever. I was playing bloody Mario here now, okay? Like Super Mario. This is just retarded. And whenever I did that, parents would kick me out of the house. I'd have to go chop wood. And I'd let all my anger out there. I didn't go to shoot people and stab people and shit like that. That's just... But that's how we worked out our aggression.
Yeah.
In the old days.
And I mean, that was just kind of the same with me when I was, a teenager or younger. I had the capability of doing it based off of where I live because I live in the woods. But like, anytime I got like super, super mad, and I was always like your stereotypical Irish kid, the Irishman, where I just bottled everything the fuck up inside of me until I could not contain it anymore, and then I would need an outlet. I'd grab an axe or a hatchet or something, and I'd go out into the woods. I'd cut a fucking tree down. And by then, I was fucking too tired to care about anything. So, I mean...
It's a better outlet.
Yeah. I mean, you're still allowing yourself to vent and outwardly express your anger and your frustrations on whatever it is that was causing it, but you're not taking it out on the people or the things that were causing it. You're taking it out on, an inanimate object or... for the longest time, I was real bad. I'd punch a wall. I'd put my fist through a wall, and then eventually I would just learn to start hitting other things. But like, everybody, the question is like, why do you feel like you have to hit something? It's like, I don't know, but literally becoming physical makes me feel better. Like that, like I said, when Rob got to witness me for the first time, I got so frustrated and so angry. Granted, it was a family issue. That's really the catalyst for me. Is I'd grabbed this baseball bat and I walked over to the over by the wood stove where we have like some metal chairs, folding chairs set up or whatever, and I just took out all my I just started beating on a metal folding chair. And once I tired myself out, I felt better. Like I felt like I could breathe again.
You will appreciate this as a wrestling fan. So this is how you know Webby's not a psychopath.
We used to do the outdoor wrestling stuff.
This is how you know Webby's not a psychopath. He took a bat and beat up a metal chair. He didn't take a metal chair and beat up his friend.
That's true. That's true. I don't know how Rob would feel about this comment, but I'm the type of person where I will hurt myself before I'll ever hurt somebody that I care about. So if that means, driving my head through a wall or, punching something and really hurting my hand, I will do that 100% of the time over, like walking up to Rob and pummeling Rob down in the kitchen for no reason.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, Rob, you made a mess of the stove making hamburger helper, and just to grab by the back of the head and start jamming his head into the fucking stove. Like, I don't know. I'll end up hurting myself more.
Stop leaving the oven on.
I might mentally hurt Rob more. Like, I can't control that. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm glad in Devin's eyes I'm not a psychopath. So the second question that was given to us, we're going to change gears here, is the differences. How is it specifically worded? Hold on. How are kids today different than 20 to 30 years ago? So I have a list of 30 different things, so we'll go through them and we'll talk as little or as much about each one as we feel we need to, if that's cool with you guys.
Sure.
So number one on this list is there's less face-to-face communication. Kids nowadays, they can hang out with people online, especially the current day, so with this whole COVID thing going on, they've missed a lot of school. They're not socially interacting face-to-face with people nearly as often. And on the little paragraph on this, they mentioned how, the fundamental lack of physical activity and interacting with peers, it affects your ability to read people. When we grew up, we were used to, talking to people face to face. We could see their facial expressions when we said something, their body language, things like that. Kids don't necessarily have that, at least not nearly to the degree that we did growing up. Do you think that impacts their ability to empathize and or read people as far as like knowing like, oh, you said something and it's obviously hurtful based off of the other person's expression to you? Rob?
I mean, I could see that, but I mean, the issues of COVID, like closing schools and stuff, has only been like the last year to 2 years. Like before that, you still get school interaction, like you see people face to face. Like hanging out with people and friends, I guess like that would be a little different if you were mostly just online. But yeah, I mean, you would still see people's facial expressions most of the time, and like your family. So I don't really see how that really affects you that much.
Okay. Devin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as Rob on that one, honestly.
All right. Clay, do you want to chime in on these?
Well, there is some, but it's not everybody has like webcams. You can't always see the facial expressions.
Right.
But I don't know. Like some schools, I know they were giving out tablets and stuff for some people and that. So I don't know. Maybe they did have ways to see everybody's faces, but
yeah. Well, that kind of leads into the next one. Number 2 is there's more access to information nowadays. The little snippet at the bottom of this one says this generation has unlimited access to information. While it's difficult to say how that will affect kids down the line, Miley reports her own experiences finding her 6-year-old agitated, tearful, and absolutely falling apart due to a YouTube video. In addition, they say screens have been shown to impact both sleep and behavior. Parents today have a lot of information to monitor for their children. It's a daunting task that feels at times impossible. Let's, I guess, start with Devin this time. I mean, I definitely agree that the kids nowadays have way more access to information than we ever did. Nowadays, I don't necessarily know that it's a good thing either, because like nowadays, kids can just Google an answer to a question.
That is true.
I remember the days where, you know, if I had to write up a report on something, I used to have to fucking go to the encyclopedias. Fucking kids nowadays probably don't even know what a goddamn encyclopedia is. They know they wouldn't. They're like, "Oh, Wikipedia? Is that what you mean?" Yeah, Wikipedia. Fucking dumbass. You know. I don't know. Like, I almost feel bad for teachers. Like, how can you know that your kids aren't just Googling answers to all of the homework you give them nowadays? You know what I mean?
I mean, why does it matter if they're Googling the answer or looking it up in a book? It's the same thing. They're still getting the information.
Well, I think he means like verbatim Googling the answers.
Yeah.
Again, like,
and then they're
difference if you look it up online or look it up
because it's essentially you're just copy pasting. You with an encyclopedia, if you had to go through the whole process of actually having to look up that thing, at least I feel like you tend to grasp that knowledge and maintain that knowledge a little bit better.
No.
Than just Google what is this times this, you know, and especially with math, like. I mean, although math, you as a teacher, I would just make the kids show their work, but still, you can just Google that, and it'll probably show you the breakdown of a math problem.
Okay, so math. Why can't you just Google math as an adult? Why do you need to be able to do it? Have you ever recently needed to do a problem out in your head?
No, but
so
then why have math class? Then why have a math class in school?
Exactly. I agree.
I wholeheartedly disagree. They fundamentally, you need to know the fundamentals of math.
No, you have calculators now, and we didn't have machines that used to be able to do math for us, but now we do. Unless you're going into a field that specifically requires math, they shouldn't require math anymore.
I wholeheartedly disagree with you on that.
Right.
I also wholeheartedly disagree on that one.
Okay.
You know,
sure. I've used math 0 times since I've been out of school, so
that's not true. Right?
That is not true. You use math every single goddamn weekend.
Yeah, with a calculator.
You do all of your D&D math with a calculator?
Yeah, but you're talking plus and minus. Okay, so yeah, elementary school math. Why do you need algebra? Why do you need calculus? You don't.
I mean, as far as algebra and calculus go, probably not. But to be fair, most of those aren't necessarily required. Algebra usually is, but past algebra, they don't usually require.
If you go to college, you have to do calculus, which even if you're whatever job you're going for, like I was going for journalism, I had to take calculus.
Recently, like I'm in college. Calculus is not a required class.
I don't know. I get what you're saying, but like maybe they should turn some of the higher and harder educated math classes into more like an elective or a specialized field. But having an adult sit there and say, "Oh well, I need to figure out this, or this. Let me pull out a calculator." You're having every adult fucking pull out calculators to solve basic shit that you should know. That's unreasonable. And what if you're in a profession that you can't just? What if you're in a profession that you can't just bust out a calculator every 2 seconds when you need to do a math problem?
Well, what? Yeah, like I said, if your profession requires math, then take it. But if your profession doesn't require math, why should you have to take math classes?
I don't know. I wholeheartedly disagree with not needing math.
I do think math is important. I will argue. I mean, I will agree with you in the fact that algebra in most cases is not important, because we have things that do it now at this point forward. But I mean, like, you use a lot of shit.
I'm not talking about like being able to count up change or do simple D&D.
Well, no, I mean like, but even then, like you need.
Well, even geometry, like
geometry, and then like contractors use geometry, and they don't necessarily have to go to college. It just all boils down to like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Look, I get what you're saying. 100% get what you're saying, Rob.
And I don't know, like sometimes, like with things like geometry, you're probably doing a lot of geometry in your head that you don't even realize you're doing on a relatively daily basis.
I don't do geometry in my head.
I'm saying that it's probably happening without you even realizing it.
Like
any time that you're looking at an angle of something, or like my biggest example of this is if you're going to play pool. You use geometry constantly playing pool, whether or not you know you're doing it.
I have not played pool in a very long time.
I was going to say Ross used geometry on the stairwell when he was carrying that couch. Pivot!
Yeah, pivot. You know? I don't know.
Robot.
Now, things like calculus, sure. Like, I've never taken calculus in my life. You know, things like that. I think those should be elective courses that if that's going to be something that you use in like your field of study, then take those courses. But, you know, up to a certain point, like basic fundamental math, shop math, things like that should not be taken off of a course just because we have technology nowadays. What are you going to do when you can't get a calculator? What if you don't have a calculator?
When are you never going to have a calculator?
Do you have a calculator right now?
Yeah, it's called my phone.
Yeah,
it's
and
right
how
here.
often do you lose your phone, Rob? Let's get into this.
I have
very often because it's always in
outside
the
of the house. It's
Yeah,
always
you
in the
have
house
literally
when I
lost your phone while it was in your hand.
I didn't realize I had it with. No, I'm done.
I'm just saying, say you can't find your phone, now you need a calculator to solve a math problem. It's ridiculous.
What emergency math problem would not allow me for time to find my phone?
Hell if I know.
My computer.
Hell if I know.
Emergency math problem. All right, gas is $3.99 and 9/10 a gallon. You have exactly $15. You want to maximize the most you can put in your tank. You don't want to go a penny over because you don't want to walk back to the inside to get the change because you know your tank's not going to take all 15. So you have an 8-gallon tank. You're trying to do the math perfectly.
An emergency, number one. Number two,
if you're out of gas, it's an emergency.
Walk back to get my change, then try to do that math in any reason.
And 90% of the pumps nowadays, you can actually enter in how much money you want to put in, and it'll just stop at $15.
Well, no. I'm saying like you are. Let's say you only want to put in 2.6 gallons because that's what you want to fill up your tank. You go in and pay cash.
And then you watch the meter
So Rob, with your
2.6 gallons.
so Rob,
you only
with
have
your
cash on you, so you have to go talk to the attendant, and then you have to walk back the second time to get the change.
Rob, with your with your method of thinking on this, why should kids go to school? They have a computer. They have Google. What else do they need?
I don't have kids. Why do I care if they go to school?
No, we obviously chose the wrong fucking topic to talk about. We're done talking about what's different between kids nowadays.
Because kids won't learn on their own. They need some kind of structure, is my answer to that.
They have Google. What do they need to learn?
No, because not all information on Google is accurate.
Well, that's the
problem with the
That's what I'm trying to ask Rob, because according to Rob, the kids don't need math anymore because they have computers.
Yeah. Math is different. Like, you can get a definitive math thing. Other things are like, there's tons of misinformation. But like, math is a solid thing. Like, you can go and you can look up the answer to a math question, and there's not going to be disputes about what. It's just like, this is it.
You do understand that if kids did not have a math course, even as simple as like addition and subtraction, they could go to
elementary
Google.
Math they should have, but they don't need like high school math unless you're taking some kind of route that you need it. There's no reason for children to learn algebra unless they're going into some kind of mathematic field.
All right. Next topic. Devin pick.
I
don't know.
You want me to pick a topic now?
I guess so. Like, Rob doesn't have kids. He doesn't care about the differences. I don't know. We'll move past this math problem, I guess.
What? Like, I don't even. Why is this the whole subject? It has to do with math.
Well, no, I brought up a different scenario, and you're like, I don't have kids. Why the hell do I care? It's like, okay, well, then we just won't talk about the differences in kids now.
Okay.
Issue, everybody, audience. This is why we talk about movies, because then when I pick movies that Rob hates, he just gets mad at me. But this is why we talk about movies. Which, by the way, I will go ahead and talk about this movie because I talked about it with Clay for a second. If you have HBO and you have access to watch *Malignant*, I'd recommend watching it. It's kind of a ride. It's not a great movie. It's not like gonna win any awards. It's a great popcorn flick. Turn your brain off, watch the movie. It's pretty damn interesting in that respect, and I'd recommend it. It like starts off like a horror movie, and then it becomes like a whodunit, like mystery gaslighting movie. Then it becomes like fucking an action movie. The last like 30 minutes is just like supervillain versus like cops versus like the unsung superhero. It's pretty solid. It's a good movie. I recommend it. People hate it. The acting's a little stiff, not gonna lie. The acting is kind of stiff. The main character, her acting, solid. Good acting. Decent, great acting. Everybody else feels like their acting lines were delivered with a healthy dose of like they were reading like the Actings for Dummies book as they were acting at the same time. And like every line was like delivered. Like the opening scene is kind of like bonkers, and you're looking at the opening scene and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, this is one of those movies inside of a movie, or oh, this is like a bad movie. Like this is like, oh, they're watching like a bad movie or something. Okay. And then you find out that no, that is the movie, but then it only gets better from there. But yeah, I recommend it. That's my short review of *Malignant*. I recommend that. And as far as like ways kids have changed, yeah. So Webby just sent me this list. I'm going through it. Number one is there's less face-to-face communication. I do think that's true, especially now in the days of COVID. There's less. I know, but I agree with that. There's more access to information. Also true. Number three, everyone has a cell phone. That is true. That is true. Just about everybody has a cell phone. I don't think everybody should have a cell phone. I think cell phones get people in trouble more often than they don't. But
how old were you when you got your first cell phone?
I was in middle school when I first got my first cell phone. I was like my last year of middle school, or like the second to last year of middle school. So what's that? 13, 14, right around there.
All right, Rob, how old were you when you first got your cell phone? When you got your first cell phone?
I don't know. I was pretty old. Maybe like almost 20. I think is when I first started college. Yeah. So like 19, 20.
Clay, what about you?
And my cell phone was not like cell phones today. You could only make calls with it. Like it did not have internet access or anything like that.
It was like a Nokia flip phone.
Yeah.
Mine was.
Clay dipped. He just left.
I was 24, 25, right around there when I got my first cell phone, and it was a flip phone.
I'm back.
There you are, Clay. How old were you when you got your first cell phone?
19.
Jeez, I was the late bloomer in this group then.
But I mean, Webby, to be fair, you don't like to talk to people, so I don't see you ever really having a way for people to talk to you. Like a more convenient way for people to talk to you seemed like probably the worst thing ever to you.
Yeah, I mean, anytime before I got my cell phone, anytime people wanted to get a hold of me, they had to come out to my house.
Basically, what I'm saying is, when they told Webby he could no longer renew his rotary dial phone, he got very upset and reluctant.
I mean, we had a house phone up until that point, yeah.
I know they would no longer renew it. He was like, "Fine, fuck, I'll do it."
Yeah.
He's like, "I would just unplug the phone cord," and then my mom wondered why nobody would call. She's like, "I haven't heard from anybody in days."
Yeah, because I mean, I paid for a house phone up until that point. Then when I got the cell phone, I was like, well, if I have this, I guess I don't need a fucking house phone. But then I found out my cell phone didn't have service where I live.
See, I'm just old enough for this we're all just old enough for this to bring this up. Who remember when the cool kids, all the cool kids had like separate lines? So like you had like a whole nother phone line in your house. Remember that? Anybody remember that?
I never had a separate phone line, but I knew you were a quote unquote cool kid when you had call waiting and caller ID. Like,
oh yeah, there you go. There you go. That too. Yep. Yeah, I remember I was pretty excited when we got a separate phone line, like when we had the internet, when we got dial-up AOL back in the day. What's up? We got a separate line just for the internet, so we were never getting interrupted when the phone rang for the internet.
I will say one thing that I have noticed in kids today, that ones who have cell phones, like they get them at much earlier ages now. They do. Like they don't memorize phone numbers.
No, they don't. They really don't. And honestly,
they'll just scroll through their phone book on their phone.
Yeah, more and more recently, I've been falling to that same thing where, like, outside of the phone numbers I've known for years, I do not remember any new phone numbers.
Yeah, same.
And it's like, it sucks. But like obviously, like, I know my mom's number by heart, but like my aunt, she gets a new number like every couple weeks or whatever sometimes.
Yeah.
And it seems like that anyway. I don't remember her phone number by heart. I really don't. And,
I remember my house phone number growing up. Like when I was a kid.
I used to know mine. I'm trying to think if I still do.
I know all four of mine.
You had 4 house lines?
No, I had one at one house, one at another house, and 2 at my house, the last house.
Yeah. Yeah, the only 3 numbers that I've committed to memory and that I don't really even have to think about is my old house phone number that we used to have, which is disconnected now. The number to my dad's work when he worked at Lambert's, the junkyard. I've memorized that number. And then Ross's parents' house number.
Nice.
So, because I used to call that constantly.
I used to call it constantly.
Yeah, and I live 5 minutes down the road from them. So
Going for the daughter.
it used to be one of those things where it's like I'd call and I'd get a busy signal because either Mrs. Boyd would be on the phone or like Emily would be on the phone or something. And I know Ross was home, so then I would just hop on my bike and ride down to his house. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, number 5 on this list I find kind of funny. Number 5, seatbelts are no longer optional. I mean,
that's
Yeah,
not
that's
true.
not true here.
that is true. That is true. They were not optional. They were optional back in the day to a degree. Like I was growing up right during like the whole like click it or ticket thing, so I never had the full experience of like not wearing like a seatbelt. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean to this day I still rarely wear a seatbelt in the back seat. I know. I know.
The only cars that we were even growing up in, I think even growing up here, the legal, you still had to be anybody under 18 had to be buckled in. Unless the car was old enough that it didn't have a seatbelt in that spot. Like if you were like the middle in the back seat, it didn't always have a seatbelt. So you didn't have to wear one there. Also, I mean, they were just a lot more lenient back then, whether it was the law or not. New Hampshire still has the law where if you're under 18, you still have to wear a seatbelt. But once you're over 18, seatbelts are optional here. You don't have to wear a seatbelt here. I think we're one of the few states who still have that as a law. Same thing with motorcycle helmets. If you're under 18, you got to wear a helmet. If you're over 18, they don't require you to wear a helmet. So,
Yeah, I rarely wear a seatbelt in the back seat of the car, but I rarely find myself in the back seat of a car these days. And usually when I am, it's like I'm in like a comfort vehicle, so it's it's fine. Like I'm in like an SUV or something where I will wear the seatbelt, but like if I'm in like a sedan in the back seat, nah, I ain't wearing a seatbelt. That shit's already uncomfortable as it is. It rarely happens. Yeah, I know. Like I should. I know. Don't at me.
I never wear a seatbelt. Ever.
Maybe wear a seatbelt.
I always do, even here where it's not necessary.
That's because your body's automatically got into a habit as soon as you sit down, you reach for
Yeah,
it.
usually in the front seat of the car, like if I'm driving, I will throw a seatbelt on. Usually, passenger seat, it's weird. It's like if I'm behind the steering wheel, it's like automatic. Passenger seat, it's like usually it'll start dinging, and I'm like, oh yeah, my seatbelt. And then yeah.
Number 7 on this list.
Everything embarrassment had everything embarrassment.
Yeah,
That
they
is not
fucked
worded
up how
correctly.
that's worded. It's
Everything embarrassing
embarrassing.
has the potential to be shared, which is true, thanks to social media. But I think social media is a cancer within itself. I mark my words. Fucking
Yeah, that's something
September
that should have been
16th,
invented.
2021. Social media will be the cause of our civilization's downfall.
On September what?
I think September 16th, 2021. That's no
I
words.
thought you meant like today it is like we're gonna go into like fucking Terminator, fucking Skynet, fucking falls, the robots evolve, kind of sort
No.
of thing.
That would be funny though. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Next one, there's.
I mean,
I do agree with that.
I will be thankful for that one. At the fact that like a lot of the embarrassing moments I had as a child growing up, if my mother or if somebody else wasn't fast enough to pull out a camera and get it on camera of some fashion, then it's just a memory. It's just a story that's told. So then I can just deny it as much as I want. Although I don't deny anything that happens that's embarrassing in my life. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I pooped in the toilet and played with it like a submarine, so.
Well, I've never done that.
Play means yesterday.
Oh, okay. God damn it.
How'd you know? You got a camera in my bathroom?
Maybe.
Clay's got like little pieces with little prongs on them, like a Mr. Potato Head extensions, but they're for submarines, so he just pushes them into the poop.
Toothpicks, man. Toothpicks.
Did you make the SS Webby? It was just a big pile of shit. I get it. All right, next one. David.
Sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Number 8, there's no hiding your location. That's for the most part basically true. I always laugh at the people who be like, oh man, I gotta stay off the grid. Yeah, they have a cell phone in their pocket. I'm like, no, that's not how that works, fam. That is the price of always having that calculator in your pocket, Rob, is the government and everybody else can listen to you at any point in time. It's kind of just how it is.
What if I told you I don't think that the government can find me?
I mean, I'd say, okay. You can believe what you
There's
want.
a knock at the door.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Facebook
Webby,
seems to know everything. I
Webby,
bet the government does.
Well, Webby, don't forget, we're also sponsored by the FBI. So
That's true. Unofficially sponsored by the FBI.
it's official.
Fucking big Indians?
I'm going to keep saying that until they sue us or give us like a cease and desist order. Because then I'll be like, yo, the FBI listens to us. We all... I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
The FBI is our new Russia. Callback.
Yep, we're just gonna keep doing stuff till we can get a listener from the FBI, or like get the FBI to listen to us. Be like, yo, they just like send us a message like,
yeah, we got a Facebook message saying we're always listening.
Like, oh shit, this is great. I love it. Number 9, ADHD is recognized. That's true.
I mean, I don't think it's just ADHD, man. Kids nowadays, a lot of mental
things,
stuff.
A lot of mental things. Yeah, that's a better way to say it. Just like general mental health is more like accepted and recognized as an actual condition.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which is always a good thing. That's solid. Oh, what else we got? There are more tests than ever.
Yeah, Rob had to take 2 to get his license.
That's true. There are a lot of tests. I remember back in the day we always had like those standardized tests that didn't really mean shit. But that's because the testing system at most schools determines the funding most schools get. So that's why they care so much about those tests, especially at the elementary and middle school level. Those tests directly tie into the funding the school gets based on like their ranking systems. So if they rank best in their district, like if a school ranks best in their district, or that they get the most money in the district, and then by comparison, if the district ranks the highest in the state, then that district gets the most money, and it all trickles down. And then, like, you know, even higher up, if your state gets the highest test scores across the country, then it trickles down from there. So, I mean, that's why we have all those bullshit standardized tests in like elementary and middle school. But past that, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of tests, but I think they're kind of stupid. In general,
you know, there's one thing about what Devin just said that I never understood. If you score top in your district, and then why should you get more money? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Should the one?
I
Yes,
100% agree with you, Clay.
no,
more
absolutely,
help?
absolutely. Oh no, I absolutely agree with you on that one. And
That never made sense to me.
It's the way education is fucked up, like, and that's why it is. And that's why you have. That's why, like, talking about like where I'm staying, like where in the city I live, like around like Detroit, like that's the problem with a lot of Detroit schools, a lot of Flint schools, and why they close down is because it's an endless spiral. You have kids who historically will do bad on tests, which means there's less money, so they don't have but they lose to people with like newer technology. So they don't newer technology, newer books, hire better teachers, because you can go, and that's unfortunately what happens. You just have a cycle that continues constantly to the point where the school is no longer getting the funding it needs to hire quality teachers and pay for new textbooks and pay for new equipment and general upkeep, and it becomes a loss. So then that's what happens. So the whole education school system could be a whole episode by itself.
And that's why we have substitute teachers going into teaching inner city kids, calling them AA Ron and D Nice.
Yep. Although I'm not gonna lie, though, to be fair, teachers teaching inner city kids is the catalyst for a good solid chunk of movies. Everything comes back around in movies, but it's a catalyst for a pretty good baseline plot of like a good chunk of movies. Especially like if like the teacher is like Denzel Washington, or like you have like Michelle Pfeiffer, or like a Kevin Costner who like fucking like comes in and teaches like a primarily or like even better than teacher, football coach.
Yeah, Coach Carter.
Basketball or football coach comes in. You have like a guy that comes from like very different background, comes in, fucking teaches them life lessons. There's always like that one kid who's like gonna make it, and then he winds up dying at the end or some shit, or gets like wrong place, wrong time, goes to jail, and then like they all huddle together at the last minute and they do it for the team and they do it for him, and then that's kind of how it goes. But yeah,
isn't that kind of the premise of the All American show on the WB? The high school
for the
football
most part.
kid, like, isn't he like a inner city kid and his life's all fucked up? And...
He's an inner city. If I'm not mistaken, he's an inner city kid, and he has like a lot of potential. And the guy's trying to get him a scholarship. He gets him the scholarship, and now he's once he gets him the scholarship to a school, but then he's trying to keep him out of trouble at the same time, so he doesn't lose the scholarship. And But anyway, so that's that.
Number 11.
Food allergies are far more common. I don't know why this is. I feel like when I was a kid, peanut butter allergies were non-existent.
Yeah, a lot of allergies were non-existent.
Everywhere. And I feel like they weren't everywhere. I feel like, I don't know if it was one of those things where like they test it early and like they identify and be like, oh, this kid has a peanut allergy, and it's like a mild peanut allergy. And they just like blanket term as a peanut allergy. And then when we were kids, you had a peanut allergy and you were just fed peanut butter. You didn't really have a choice in the matter, and you just developed an immunity to it. Or if literally all these chemicals they're putting in the food fucked up the previous generation, and then they passed that shit down to this generation, and now all the kids of this generation have allergies and shit from the chemicals and shit that are going in our food.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I've noticed this because like I've been like when you go to the doctor and they ask you, do you have any medical allergies, or allergies to any medications or whatever? None. My answer is always none. I don't have any allergies that I'm aware of. And they seemed slightly shocked by that. They're like, wow. It's like, what do you mean, wow? Like, I don't have food allergies. I don't have regular allergies. I don't understand. Like, I get that they existed, but I want to know how come, like, it literally, like, it seemed like overnight it was like a wildfire of everybody's allergic to something now. So... I'm not taking away from people who are allergic to these things, and I've known some people who seemingly are allergic to literally everything. But I don't know. Yeah, these weren't things that we talked about or heard a lot about as kids. I mean, we used to eat dirt, drank from the garden hose.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing for our generation, apparently.
No, it made us healthier.
Yeah, boosted our immune system.
I guess so.
All right, what's the next one?
Families are more diverse. That's generally true.
Actually, it's Easter gets replaced the real thing.
Yep, families more diverse. Growing up, kids were frequently told
Devin's skipping a couple. That's all.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I was scrolling down.
12 and 13.
Sorry. Yeah. E-cigarettes have replaced the real thing. That is, for the most part, true. I mean, yeah, I don't have much to say about that. I don't really smoke. I smoke cigars occasionally, but I don't really smoke like e-cigarettes or whatever. I never saw the appeal. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess so. Yeah. Although I will say this, it's kind of funny how like back in the day, like the smoking kid was like the cool kid, right? And then now you have the vape pen kid, and he's just the fucking douche. Like nobody likes him. Yep. Like nobody likes the vape pen kid. He's like the hipster fucking douchebag that nobody likes.
Vaping. It's like, yeah, that's real cool there.
Shut the fuck up, Ronnie. Shut the fuck up, Ronnie. Go somewhere. We fucking cares,
Get the
Ronnie.
fuck out of here, right?
We
all start throwing rotten fruit
at him. We don't have
him.
fucking time for this shit.
We all throw like rotten fruit at him.
Oh, sorry. No, I forgot. You quit the pizza gig. It wasn't your scene. You're fucking working at the vintage record store now. Fuck you, Ronnie. Anyway,
Poor Rob.
number 13, and you have kids are heavier. I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean,
Well, that's because they spend more. Well, I shouldn't say they. I should say we, because
collectively
even we
spend more
spend
time in
more
front
time-
of devices and less time outside. I mean, we don't get the whole go outside and play and don't come in until the street lights are on.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, yeah, you got an hour in front of your TV or whatever to do your play your games, whatever, and then you were told to get the hell out of the house.
Yup.
And you played outside, you wandered in the bush, like I did. Like I spent hours just wandering through the bush playing imaginary games with people that didn't exist. You know, that's why I'm a little crazy. But anyway, yeah, I had fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to build like Home Alone style traps for the neighbor kids, so if they ever came on our property, they'd trigger the traps. Looking back on it, they could have seriously got hurt if they tripped them.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very bad thing for me to have done.
Where he's like,
doing
I
it.
regret none of it.
No, you have no idea, dude. I had like a humane trap, like one of the big square humane traps for like catching like a raccoon type thing, right? Not just like a little one for squirrels. Well, I had taken one of those, I filled it full of rocks, tied a rope to it, brought it up to a tree, you know, hung it from a branch, and then turned it into like a tripwire. So if you walked through the tripwire, the cart thing full of rocks would fall on you. I was like, oh man, thankfully nobody triggered this thing because there'd be a dead body in the woods. But you know what?
Funny.
I blame that on Home Alone. How's that?
Yeah, no,
What
Home
you're
Alone
saying is-
and
It's not music or video games.
It's
It's
movies.
movies.
Yeah, violent kids movies.
Well,
I mean,
if you look at
to
it,
be
it
fair,
could be
that
true.
paint can trap would kill somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, it actually would. It's been proven it would kill somebody.
If you look as well, like we're talking about the movie thing there, when Fast and the Furious come out, the day it was released and everybody come out of that theater, speeding tickets across North America increased by almost 25%.
Yep.
They saw that movie, they hopped in their cars, and they are freaking ripping around corners and doing stunts, and it got retarded.
Yeah.
4 people crashed coming out of the theater in my town, like just literally just ripped out, didn't look, just
Then I'm sure everybody like worked on their cars and then like tried to do the whole street racing thing and
oh yeah.
Fast and
Street racing
Furious One
cars,
was the birth of the douche fender, or the fucking not the fender, the fucking wing in the back.
oh, the spoiler.
The spoiler, that's what it was. Yeah, the douche spoiler.
spoilers and whale tails, yeah.
Fucking
Man,
douche spoilers, man.
we used to
I
have a
swear,
game.
like
In high school.
on fucking your mom's Honda Civic. They get their fucking like 1997 mom's 1997 Honda Civic. Fucking the hatchback version, not even like the sedan version. Fucking hatchback version. Fucking spoiler right on top of that bitch. You're like, why?
I have a
You're
question.
not aerodynamic at all.
I have a question. Is there a thing regarding the law where if you had broken the law like years and years and years ago prior in your life, but you know you were never caught doing it, and then you admit that you broke the law later on in your life, can you still be charged for those crimes?
Depends on the crime. There are statute of limitations on certain crimes. Murder
Like,
has no statute
no,
of
no,
limitations.
like vandalism, I guess. it
I'm
would-
pretty sure vandalism in most states has a statute of limitation of like 3 years, so you're probably okay.
Okay, because we used to do spoiler fishing in high school. Me and I'll just say a group of friends. I had a mud truck at the time, and we had a rope connected to a grappling hook, essentially. And as we were driving, we would have one person in the back try to grapple hook spoilers while I was driving, and we'd just tear spoilers off of cars.
I mean, to
Did
be
you
fair,
keep a
that's
spoiler?
always been a thing.
No.
That's always been a thing. It was different back in the day. It was the fucking the emblem off like the cars. They like was it like Mercedes and shit that people go
yeah.
fucking and they go pop the emblem off the car.
I would do that in the junkyard. I would collect certain emblems off of things, but why'd you ask if I kept the spoilers?
Because then that's considered theft of property, and that's 7 years.
Oh, well, this is longer than that anyway, so it doesn't
All right,
matter.
just letting you know.
Yeah, it's 2 years. So I think New Hampshire vandalism is 2 years. For the
Yeah,
statute of limitations.
we'll just say hypothetically this
Okay,
all
1 year.
happened.
1 year statute of limitation for all misdemeanors. And there's a few different time limits for felonies in the state, but I'm pretty sure with no one being hurt, if you only cop to one time that happened, I don't think the monetary
Hypothetically, one time it happened.
I don't think the monetary damages would exceed enough to make it a felony, unless you accidentally like hooked the dude on the head and like dragged him down the street by accident, which may or may not have happened.
I don't ever recall that happening.
I like the way you said that. I do not recall. I do not recall the specific state of events that may have occurred on that day in which you have questioned me about, sir.
All right, number 15. You can watch TV whenever and wherever.
That's true.
That's true.
I do it at work all the time.
You can watch TV on your phones nowadays.
Yup.
Tablets, laptops.
Yup.
You know, I know that some people can pull up a show on their phone and then like somehow broadcast it to their TV.
Yep.
So they can watch it on their TV. They can watch the TV on the TV, but being broadcasted from the phone, which is fucking weird to me. Like, why not just pull it up on the TV?
There are some reasons why. For one, the YouTube TV app is kind of shit. The YouTube app for TVs, like the Hulu and the fucking Roku built into most TVs, is a pretty shitty app. So if you're streaming something from YouTube, I do prefer to stream it from my phone to TV. 1, 2. Depending on what it is, they may not have an app for whatever it may not have an app for like Amazon Prime. Like for a while, HBO wasn't on Amazon. But you could like cast your phone to the TV and watch it that way. So there's that. And then also too, if they have a Chromecast, pretty much Chromecast is all just streaming from your phone to the TV. So,
all right.
Yeah. Well, there you go. The more
if you were in Canada, though, apparently there is no statute of limitations on theft. Just so you're aware.
And that's why Canada's shit. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but in Grand Prairie specifically, if you're ever arrested and then set free, you can request a revolver and a horse, apparently. That's still on the books. They haven't taken it off.
That's when you've been in prison for, I think, 5 years. Prison, not jail.
I don't know. I'll have to relook it up. But still, I mean, I would be the douchebag who tries to enact that and then be like, we're not giving you a gun and a horse. But then what?
Like, then you just
the
sue
government.
Then you just sue them and be like, yo, hey, fucking, I'm owed a gun and a horse, goddammit.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, all right, here's your gun and your horse, and they probably will change the fucking rules.
Oh, yeah, they do it like within minutes after.
Yeah, they'd be like, this is never happening again.
But you get a gun and a horse out of it, so.
Yep. All right. Next one, 16. Hey, we talked about this earlier. Wikipedia has replaced the encyclopedia.
Yep.
The only problem with I feel like the only problem with this is Wikipedia. Isn't Wikipedia editable by a lot of people?
Mm-hmm.
It is, but it usually gets changed shortly thereafter by like there's like official people who edit it. But yeah, for the most part, it is.
17 blackboards have been replaced with smart boards. I don't even know this is a thing.
Yeah, I hate smart boards.
Remember when a teacher would
dry
punish
erase boards?
an unruly student by making him or her clean the blackboard erasers, leaving them coated in thin film of white for the rest of the day? Fast forward to the present, and blackboards have all but disappeared from the classroom, replaced by the interactive whiteboard, the smart board. With dazzling array of features and capabilities, it's no wonder smart technology quickly swept the nation, with the company installing its 2 millionth unit in 2011. Still, how is the present generation supposed to describe an awful ear-splitting noise when they've never experienced the next sensation of nail scraping a chalkboard?
Aha! God, I hate that sound.
My monitor's gross. I've never even heard of these smartboard things.
I'm not a fan. I mean, they're just like overproduced blackboards, but
You know the white stuff you had that you use those dry erase markers on your wall?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's
Just dry erase
considered one
boards.
of the types of smart boards.
Huh. Something about Spark Notes. I've never even heard of this. Spark Notes made not reading for class infinitely easier.
Yeah, it's like a Cliff Notes, but online instead of.
Why would you write notes on the side of a cliff?
I don't know. That's what people used to do.
Oh.
Oh, so okay, so getting the Spark Notes is a generic name for just about any book summary you can find. All right, so it's like the such and such for dummies kind of style books.
exactly.
Yeah.
Number 19, kids use text speak that adults don't understand. I am guilty of this as far as not using it. Well, like I use it, but I also don't understand some of them. I've had to openly ask, Rob what certain things mean. I'm an idiot when it comes to that kind of stuff. If you've never used a cell phone, you'd be mighty confused to hear that kids these days talk SMH. What does SMH mean?
Shaking my head.
See, I didn't know that one. I think I've asked you that one specifically before too. It's still, I don't know. OMG is oh my god, and TL:DR.
Too long didn't
TLDR.
read.
TLDR.
Yeah, it means too long didn't read.
Yep. Too long, didn't read.
What? That's
Basically, it's like a giant ass post or whatever, and you'll scroll down to the comment section of this long ass like Reddit post, and someone will be like, "TLDR, mom canceled allowance because she wrecked the Mercedes. She's upset."
Yeah. It gives you,
Basically,
like, a
it's just like
summary.
a 1 or 2 sentence summary of what the fuck that whole page of text was.
all right.
Sorry to step on you there, Rob.
It's okay.
Rob's like, it's too late
Okay.
to apologize.
Okay. So
You've already done it, bitch.
You've already done it.
I want you guys to go ahead and come up with like 2 or 3 of these little whatever these things are called. What would these things be called? Just text
speeches?
speak, I guess.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Text
So
speech.
I want each of you. We're gonna go around in a circle. I want each
Let's
of
see
you
if
to come
you-
up with 2 or 3 of them and see if I know what they mean. I'm gonna put my hands behind my head.
Like-
I'm not gonna Google nothing. I'm turning around even.
Like, make them up or use ones that already exist.
Yeah, I mean, use ones that exist or whatever.
STFU.
Shut the fuck up. I know that one.
Come on. Webby, Clay, ATM.
Ass to mouth.
If you want to go that route, you can.
I mean, that's the second one that I thought of. The first one was just the teller machine.
Automatic teller machine.
Yeah, those are the 2 that I thought of.
ATM could also technically be at the moment.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen people use it like that too. That's just not where my brain goes, I guess.
No, mine went straight to
I knew
ass.
that would happen.
All right, Rob, give us one. I'm staring out my kitchen window right now, so I don't feel compelled to look these things up.
TTYL.
That's talk to you later, right?
Yeah.
Good job, Webby.
I'm hip with this text speech. Maybe. All right. Clay, you got one?
I'm still thinking of another one. Like,
Devin, you got one? Give me a hard one. Like, I didn't know that TLDR one at all. And Rob, if you have one, you can go ahead and chime in.
I mean, this isn't necessarily. Well, that's not really text lingo.
Well, I mean, text speech just seems to me like an
You know
abbreviation.
what AMA
for
is? Do you know what
word.
AMA is?
A what?
AMA?
I don't. American Movie Awards.
Ask me anything.
Ass?
Ask
ask.
me anything.
Oh.
NBD.
NBD?
Yes.
I mean, I would think like never back down, but I don't know why that would be abbreviated in a sentence.
No big deal.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, that makes sense. See, instead of putting NBD for like no big deal, I just put like no prob. Like I don't know.
BRT.
I feel like this one's easy. BRT.
Mhm.
Come on, you should know this one.
Give me a hint. Why should I?
B is B.
Fuck me. All right, that's. What were you gonna say, Clay?
IL.
Oh, be right there.
Yay.
Wow, that's way too long for such a small one. Yeah, okay. I'm not very lingo centric, I guess.
FWIW.
What? Excuse you? F what?
FWIW.
FWIW?
Hmm?
I have no idea.
Rob?
Hey, that one I don't know either.
Really?
FWIW.
Devin?
What was it again?
FWIW.
FWIW? No idea.
Oh,
What is
okay.
it?
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth.
I don't know.
How about FIFY?
FIFY?
Yep.
Fuck.
I had no idea.
I fixed it for you. Well, fixed it for you.
Oh. Yeah, I would not have known that one. Fubar.
F-
How's that?
Fucked up beyond all recognition.
That's right. That's these kids
IIRC
these
is
days.
one that people use a lot.
IIRC?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I know that one either.
If I recall correctly.
Oh my god.
ICYMIN is another one.
We're overloading Webby.
Yeah, man. FML. FML. All right.
ICYMI is in case you missed it.
FML.
That's funny.
All right. Number 20. I disagree with number 20 wholeheartedly. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Pluto is no longer a planet. Pluto has always been a planet. I grew up with Pluto as a planet. They can't just all of a sudden say, because they feel like there's a different classification for it, that, hey, guess what? It's not a planet anymore. It's a fucking dwarf something. I don't give a fuck. It's a planet. You've called it a planet for 35 fucking years, or longer even. It's a planet.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that, because it does have, even if it's called a dwarf planet, it is still a planet. Not a moon. Planet. But that's true.
Adults now dress like kids to go to work.
Some of them do, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with this either. Number 22, the world is a safer place. You know what? I don't recall all of these.
Disagree with that.
Huh?
I wholeheartedly disagree with the world being a safer place.
Me too. Like when we were kids, and it wasn't, I don't think it was necessarily because it was like We were trouble free. We didn't have to care about certain things. We didn't hear about school shootings happening once a month on a fucking TV at the news, on the news.
Not really at all.
About cities being bombed and things like that. Yeah, okay, we had bad shit happen in our day when we were kids, but I do not think that it happened nearly to the degree that it happens nowadays. Would you guys all agree to that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, I would agree with that. For sure. I would agree with that.
Oh, this one saddens me, but number 23, AIM has come and gone.
I don't even know what the hell that was.
AOL Instant Messenger. Oh man, AOL. I know some people who actually still use AOL. No lie. Number 24, soda is no longer a go-to drink for kids.
I don't know about that one. I say that's 50-50.
Yeah, what do they go to now? What did they say about this? Oh, they're talking about kids in high school. In the last 10 years, for example, the CDC reports that high school soda consumption has decreased by more than a third.
That's just in the school. They're not. That doesn't count for home, where the teachers give them or the parents give them fucking 5 cans of Pepsi a day.
Yeah.
That's just in school. That's not a valid.
I mean, we
thing
didn't like growing up. We didn't really have a whole lot of soda growing up. In this house, like I remember a lot of the times, like the most soda that we would have is like if we ever had like a pig roast, I would get away with getting a few cans of soda or whatever, or I would always drink it out of my dad's soda can if I was outside helping him work. But we had those juice barrels with the little
I love
aluminum
those.
foil caps there that you would just puncture through. Yeah.
Three Sons.
Well, we never had Capri Suns either.
Well, that's the little packages that you poke your straw into and drink out of.
No.
No,
We're
they were
talking,
shaped like barrels, and they had like tinfoil over the top, and you would like puncture them with your teeth and then suck the.
Yeah, and there was like grape ones, light blue ones, like red ones, orange ones.
What?
Yeah, hold on.
They still sell those.
Yeah. These things, Clay. I'm going to post a picture. Little
And
hunks.
here it just shows me a guy doing a shotgunning a beer.
These things.
I love those
I've
things.
never
Yeah,
seen
little
that.
hugs.
They're a hug.
There's
Yeah,
no-
they're called hugs, I guess. I think there was an off-store brand that my mom used to get us, but
See, small drinks like that, we had Yop.
yeah.
Or
And you always had to be kind of careful because at parties they would like just dump them into like the ice buckets and stuff. But then like sometimes the ice punctured the fucking cap, and you'd always have one spill out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. All right, last couple here. Fathers are more involved than ever. I mean, I don't really have much to say about this one. My dad was a workaholic. He worked literally 7 days a week, so.
in some cases with this, I would agree, but other cases I would disagree.
Yeah.
Some parents that are, the fathers are fighting more for their kids, right? Just to be able to see their kids, to have custody of their kids, over the moms now, so they're fighting more. I think they're taking that involved.
Yeah. Number 26, kids don't have to learn cursive anymore. Fucking lucky bastards.
Yeah, when the fuck did that happen?
I don't know.
I used to get my hand slapped with a freaking ruler because I wasn't holding the pen right or doesn't doing loops properly.
Yeah,
This
the
is
only time I
bullshit.
wait cursive
No
now,
reason to write in cursive anymore. So
the only time I ever write in cursive anymore is when I sign my signature. And even then, I don't really feel like it's cursive. I feel like it's like a mixture of cursive. It's literally just let's be honest.
It's a chicken scratch.
It's a chicken scratch. It's but
Yeah.
27. Nerds are cool now. I mean, I can agree with this. It is much more acceptable in today's society to be a nerd.
Yeah.
That never stopped me from being a nerd when we were kids. So, I was never a jock. I always did all the nerdy things. I was just never... can't say never. Most of the time, I was never beaten up for it or bullied about it. Because I was one of the bigger kids in school. People were afraid to bully me. So.
I'd have picked on you.
You still do. You make poop submarines named after me.
I was supposed to tell every... Oh, wait, I already did.
28, you can put an entire music library that fits in your pocket. That's true. When I was a kid, we used to make cassette tapes and then eventually CDs rather. And even then, I was never really, I couldn't burn CDs because I didn't have that capability. I used to have to go to Ross to do that for me. But I definitely remember making cassette tapes to play in my trucks and my cars. We would have something called, it was the Rock 101. What's that?
Fucking mixtapes from back in the day.
Yeah. But we would have the Rock 101 weekend. I forget what they called it, but they would Blockbuster Weekend or whatever, and essentially they would play blocks of bands. So like if Metallica was coming up, they would play like 3 songs from Metallica back to back with no commercial interruptions, and then they'd go through and they'd do this, that, and the other thing. So I would just have to listen for the bands that I'd want to hear, and then quickly hit record on the tape. So the news is everywhere. I mean, that's true. You can literally find it on anything now. Before, I remember it was mainly just a newspaper and the news. What's that?
The problem with it is it's never good news.
Oh, no. There's no such thing as good news. They never report
about good news.
No such thing as good news anymore. And lastly, there's an increased consciousness about what constitutes healthy food. I don't even know what to say about this either. I understand that doctors and the world and everybody wants you to eat healthier and stuff. Okay. They should lower the price of healthy, quote unquote, healthy foods. Because I'm going to hearken this example. You can go to McDonald's and you could get 2 99-cent cheeseburgers and a 99-cent medium fry, and a 99-cent medium drink. Okay, so you spend $5 and change, and we'll say, for 2 burgers, fries, and a drink. Or you can buy a salad from McDonald's for like $8.99.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting less food because it's healthier, but it's going to cost more. No one wants to pay for more. Pay for, they want to pay X amount of dollars and get more. But I don't know.
Yeah, they don't want to pay more for less.
Yeah, I don't know. I think all of these healthier foods should become more accessible to the populace. But yeah, that's that list. Rob, Devin, Clay, you guys have final thoughts on any of these?
I like
Not really.
boobs.
Clay, that's always your thought, period. That's not a final thought.
Okay.
It's his final thought ever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I like Jessica Negri's boobs.
All right, I'm tagging her in this SU, and I'm going to send it to her directly with a timestamp. 1 hour, 29 minutes, 46 seconds. Write it down.
You have to edit it first. And then...
I don't edit anything.
Oh yeah, this is unprofessional. I forgot.
We'll say 1 hour, 28 minutes to be safe. Okay. I wrote it
Let me
down.
know what she tells you.
All right. Devin, closing thoughts?
No.
All right. With that, we need a Getting Real with Rob and a Life Advice with Devin, which I believe...
Devin had the Zen moments.
Nah.
He's no longer Zen?
No. Now it's just Life Advice.
Oh,
which, Rob, I don't know if you saw, but you did have a request for Life Advice, too, or Getting Real with Rob. Is exploring space an outrageous expense? Why or why not?
The answer is yes. Yeah. So, just getting things into space is incredibly expensive. So, I mean, there's a reason why until recently it's only been governments that have put things into space. Because it's basically currently to put astronauts on the International Space Station, they're charging, well, because Russia's allowing other people to go to the space station now, but they're charging $81 million per seat.
that's it?
To go. And the average cost of currently launching a single space shuttle that's already been built, just relaunching it into space, is $450 million. That doesn't take into account like things like the Voyager probes that went off and are never coming back because they cost a lot of money, and then you're just basically shooting it off into space and you're never going to see it again. Like, it's not going to come back for reuse.
But that does relay information back to us, correct?
Yeah,
right.
For a while. Eventually, yeah, they've already both of them have moved outside of the sun's heliosphere, so they're in interstellar space currently.
Yeah.
So eventually they'll be too far away to send back, or they'll be destroyed by things that were too far, like crash into something that we couldn't see from back here. But yeah.
Well,
so
according to them, the batteries will run out.
Yeah.
First.
Now, how much does it make? How much did it cost to make one of those probe things?
Let me look it up really quick.
That's actually a good question.
I mean, I'm guessing at least probably like millions of dollars, right?
Oh, definitely.
So our government's literally just shooting money into space.
Yeah.
The combined cost is $250 million.
Oh my god! And we just launched that shit into space, and with knowing that we'll never ever get that back.
Yes.
No.
So the reason though that people are doing it is a lot of the things that we have gained is due to things like space exploration. So normally there's like when we rush to build new technology, in the past it has always been because of war or some kind of disaster that spurred people into like finding scientific things like new ways to kill people, which is how we got like atom splitting and stuff to create bombs. For the first time ever, it was the space race that spurred technology for no other reason than exploration. So people tried to get to the moon first. Now, Russia like to get more equipment and more people up into space, there were two ways you could go. Russia went with building bigger rockets. The USA went with making things smaller and way less. So the reason we have things like personal computers and cell phones and stuff like that is because the US worked on making computers smaller and lighter so that they could put them onto space shuttles. So a lot of our more modern technology comes from space exploration. There's that. There's GPS because we learned how to launch satellites. The global positioning system is due to satellites. A lot of cell phone usage is due to satellites. The reason before now that only the government has been working on space exploration is because it's so expensive, and the things you get back, like you see improvements and you earn money, but not till further down the road. The reason why companies now are looking into space exploration like private companies is because they feel like they can make more money to offset the costs a lot quicker, like with space tourism and stuff like that. But things like this, the International Space Station and monitoring, like I said, we got smaller computers because they had to make them smaller to fit on the space shuttles to use less fuel in order to make it more cost effective. Other things that came from it are like our modern medical technology because they had to figure out a way to monitor the health of the astronauts that they sent up, the ones that went to the moon, to the International Space Station. So a lot of our modern medical like scans and stuff and monitoring comes from the space exploration programs. And a lot of other things like they've learned how to do stuff in zero G. They're able to experiment with things that are too dangerous to experiment on Earth, with certain like germs and microbes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the exploration and whatnot that pushes forward Earthbound technologies, like the things that we use every day, are developed because of things like this. And then the other reason is basically right now, like the reason why we're picking it back up again and trying to figure out, can we put colonies on Mars? Can we put colonies on the moon? Is it because currently all our eggs are in one basket, which is the Earth. So if anything were to ever happen to the Earth, human race is done for, kaput. If we can put people on other planets, then there is more of a chance for the human race to survive if something were to happen to Earth, which is the current like driving thing behind this. Hey, if we get hit by some kind of strange giant asteroid, if we ruin the environment or whatever, we'll have other people on other planets so that human isn't tied just to Earth. But that's more of like a humanity thing. Like you're not going to really make money on that currently. So that's why a lot of like it's more like governments that are trying to do this kind of thing because they're looking forward to the future. Costs a lot of money. Reason like people on Earth and like some governments are like, no, we're not going to waste time doing this because we're not going to get any return from it. We could be using the money for different things. But it's like you can both fund space exploration and use the money for other things at home. But there's a lot of like controversy about that because people are like, why should we be putting a bunch of money into like space when there's so many problems that we have here on Earth? But I mean, that's part of the thing is like, okay, if we screw up Earth so bad that everyone's going to die, at least then, you know, maybe we'll have a way to travel to other planets, kind of thing.
And do you feel like that's going to ever happen in our lifetime? Like,
probably not. For one thing, the trip to Mars takes a long time. So if they were like building, because like I said, it takes a lot of money just to get off the ground, get into space. So they would have, if they're going to build like a colony on Mars or the moon, they would have to be launching like a ton of stuff to there first to build like a bubble or a settlement or something, and then they would send people. So like it takes a long time to get to Mars, so I think it's a couple of years at least trip. So to keep like sending stuff and then sending more stuff and then sending more stuff, every time they send stuff, it's a couple of years wait So, I don't think by our lifetimes they'll have it. But I mean, we might see them start building it in our lifetimes. It also depends too on being able to find water underground on Mars, because we need water and oxygen to live. And if there's no water, like, we would have to constantly be shipping water and oxygen from Earth, which is definitely not cost effective. So they need to make, that's why a lot of people are skipping the moon and going straight for Mars, hoping Mars has like underground water somewhere, because otherwise it's like not feasible at this time to be doing it, because you'd have to constantly be sending tons of water from Earth to Mars or the moon. Keep a colony running.
All right. Well, that was getting real with Rob. Devin, do we have a life advice from Monsieur Devin?
Sometimes the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else solve theirs.
Boom.
I just really quick, for the I looked up the money amount. So apparently, for marked for inflation, NASA has spent over $900 billion on the stuff that they send into space.
Well,
so like the moon missions, all the moon missions cost about $25 billion at the time. Today, that would be the equivalent of $110 billion.
All right then. Well, with that, let's go with Rob. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Confessor_X and on Twitch at twitch.tv/ConfessorX.
And Devin, where can people find you on the internet?
You guys can find me on Twitter at DMP_Pookie, and you can find me on Twitch at Mr. D3.
And Clay.
And on eBay. You can find me on eBay saving Private Clay.
Saving Private Clay. Saving Clay's privates. On eBay.
Yeah.
Clay, nobody can find you on the internet because you're never, ever on the internet, right?
You can find me at Pornhub.
Well, you can find Clay at Pornhub.com.
Link that number.
As always, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JaxForestWalker, all one word, on Twitch at DMWebby, and on eBay at helping Devin save Clay's privates from Pornhub.
Wow, you guys care.
Thank you guys for listening, and until next week, fuck Booster Gold.
Fuck Booster Gold.
Also, I don't care what anybody says, Pluto's a goddamn planet. Fight me. I got plenty of aggression to take out. I'll show you the not-so-teddy bear side of Webby. Ba-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da.